Well, hello everybody. Hope you're doing well. Darren Saul here, your host of Playing with Perspective, the Suspended Animation Podcast, episode 138. And we've got a special guest and a special show. Irena
Wow.
Geller is back. How are you, Irena?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very, very well. Now, for everybody out there, Irena's been on the show
That's good.
before. She's exceptional. She's a food
Yes.
and mood coach. And today we're going to be
Yes.
chatting all about the 3 steps to consistent healthy eating and a lasting healthy life, which is actually the title of Irena's new book,
Mm.
which we're going to get into later on as well. But
Yes.
so before we go any further, I thought I'd just
Okay,
give
awesome.
everybody a little bit more detail into Irena in case they didn't hear the episode earlier last year. So Irena Geller is a food and mood coach, author, and public speaker in the health and weight loss industry who helps women put down their fork and pick up their life. Her specialty is coaching busy women to eat well consistently and lose weight effortlessly so they can live life to the fullest, look amazing, and feel confident. As I mentioned, she's just released her new book, 3 Steps to Consistent Healthy Eating and a Lasting Healthy Life. So, Irena, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again. I
Oh,
feel
it's
very honored.
my pleasure.
And I'm really well.
We always love to have you on the show, and I always love talking about my favorite subject, food.
Thank you.
So maybe give the audience a little bit more insight into your
Mood.
story.
Okay. What about mood?
Yeah, mood as well. Moods are always important. But as we're going to chat about today,
Sure.
mood and
Yeah.
food are actually quite well connected, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
Mm.
maybe, Irena, give us a little bit more insight into
Yeah, they're very well connected. Okay, so
your
yep,
story. Perfect. We got a bit of a delay on there, so apologies.
into my story.
Delay,
Yeah,
but
okay.
go for it.
We do have a bit of a delay. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I've been on my own journey. I've walked steps. Like I was feeling hopeless and helpless. I didn't believe in myself, but I used to have a dysfunctional relationship with food, and that started at the age of 11.
Wow.
And it would result in binging or restricting. Like when I've had eating disorders as well. I've had anorexia and bulimia,
Wow.
and it started off with binge eating disorder. And really, all my life, I guess I looked towards diets. I didn't like my body, I didn't like myself, and I always looked for the latest fad diet because I thought that if I lose weight, then I'll be happy. But what I didn't realize, and I discovered this about 10 years ago, is that it starts with the mind, right? So basically, if you don't believe in yourself, chances are you're not really going to try anything.
Yep.
If you remember that talk that I gave last Friday,
Yes.
that's where it sort of starts and that's where it ends. And I guess 10 years ago, I lost my business. I had a successful fashion business, a fashion label called Lucky 13, and I crashed and burned because I mismanaged my energy, mismanaged my time, and I had adrenal fatigue for 6 months. And let me tell you, it's not very pleasant.
No.
It's horrible. And when I finished school, I actually did a degree in biomedical science. I wanted to do medicine, but I didn't end up pursuing that because my family were in fashion.
Right.
So I took a sidestep, I guess you could say, and I went into fashion and spent 25 years there. And when I crashed and burnt and I was in bed for 6 months, I had a lot of time to think. So I thought, well, what do I really want to do? And about 6 months before that, I started attending meetings called SMART. They're not like 12 steps at all. Basically, they're meetings for people that have addictions. Right. And I guess you could say that I was addicted to food because I used food, to punish myself and to comfort myself. And I ate for emotional reasons. Yep. And that's why I used to call myself emotional eating coach.
Yep.
And when I started to attend these meetings, I realized that what works is when you feel empowered, when you feel confident, and when you actually look at lifestyle changes rather than just the food, rather than diet, how you can change your life and build your environment around you to support you.
Yeah.
And, having attended those meetings for about 6 months to a year, I gained a lot more confidence and I started to look things from a different perspective. And 10 years on, I am where I am today.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm probably carrying a little bit more weight than I'd like to be, but I'm comfortable with it. I accept myself.
Yep.
For me, weight loss is not the end goal.
Yep.
For me, the end goal is to actually be happy and to feel good every day. So I exercise a lot, I eat well, and it's really important to eat right for your body type, because when you're following a diet that your friend has had success with, that diet may not work for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I can keep talking for the next 2 hours if you let me, but I won't.
But you know what? It's fascinating. I mean, because we're all emotional eaters to a degree. I'm an emotional eater. When I'm, you know, a little bit sad, I eat. When I'm happy, I eat, or I drink. Or, you know, we're all emotional eaters.
Yeah, sure.
So there must be
We're
a
all
point
emotional
in which,
creatures.
yes.
You see, I guess the point, I think what you're trying to get to is, when does it become a problem?
Yes.
Well, it becomes a problem when it starts to affect you mentally and physically.
Yep.
You know, if you gain a lot of weight as a result of, you know, eating your emotions, then you could have health issues, or you could have confidence issues.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you are turning to either food or alcohol or whatever your drug of choice is, I'm going to call it that, if I may. I don't like calling it drug. Yeah, you know, whatever tick rocks your boat, so to speak, or whatever gets you off, then, you know, it can start to impact on your life in a negative way. I think what you're describing, Darren, is a very, very, very low dose of emotional eating. But we are emotional creatures.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean,
we are emotional creatures, even though, go on, sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, in everyday life, for everyday people, I suppose you have to have, even for somebody that is aware of their emotional eating, if they have an issue with it, they still have to give themselves a little bit of wavelength or leeway to enjoy themselves a little bit, I suppose, but they have to pull back the reins. Of
course.
When they know.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't believe in deprivation and and in guilt. If you've eaten something, it's already in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's a good idea to accept it. And then perhaps think to yourself, reflect on it and think, well, you know, could I do something different? Or what is the cause of me eating emotionally?
Yes.
You see, people just look at the symptom, not the causes. Am I working too many hours? Am I not getting enough sleep? Am I too stressed? You know, so when you look at that's what I'm all about. When you address the causes, not put a Band-Aid over it, then you've got a really good chance of getting to the bottom of it and actually feeling confident. And I think confidence is really the number one thing that everyone wants.
100%.
Because when you feel confident, you know, the sky's the limit.
Yep.
If you wake up and you feel confident, chances are you will exercise. Chances are you will attempt that project. You will call that friend that maybe you had a fight with. Whereas if you don't feel confident, you don't believe in yourself. Or when people don't believe in themselves, it's very difficult to achieve anything in life. And I'm not talking about achieving, you know, like success, but just feeling good about yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's just
100% agree.
Basic. Yeah.
100% agree. And I'm fascinated by the amount of amazing mindset coaches and people that deal with the mental psychology of human beings on this podcast, that so much of our success in life is about what's happening up here.
Yeah. Well, I've had my own, I didn't mention that I suffered from panic attacks for many, many years. You know, like I had multiple panic attacks. I suffered from a disorder called depersonalization disorder.
Oh, boy.
And that started at the age of 14. And I had anxiety previous to that. I also have ADHD, which I manage with medication, right? And also food. You see, I used to think that being a health and wellness coach or being in the health and wellness industry, you're not allowed to take any medication. But then, you know, my doctor said to me, what if you had asthma? Would you just have, you know, so certain chemical imbalances in our brain do require some medication.
Definitely.
And, you know, being on medication for ADHD has actually been very beneficial for me.
Great.
And I talk about it openly. You know, I talk about mental health really openly. And I think we should have more conversations about it so there isn't such a stigma.
Yeah.
Because for many years I felt helpless and hopeless. I thought I was, you know, a misfit, basically. I thought I was just so different to everyone else. But
Absolutely.
in fact, I wasn't. It's just that it wasn't talked about.
Exactly. I mean, everybody has issues. They just don't show them to the world. Everybody keeps them inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're afraid of being judged and being put into a certain box or a certain category. But it to be like that.
Yeah. So true.
You know, I'm very open about everything. Perhaps maybe too open sometimes, people tell me.
And I mean, how do you think these days, because the world is so busy, it's frantic, technology is rife, we're managing things at a ridiculous speed. Is it as easy to control our diet and our mindset with regards to our diet as easy as it might have been, 20 years ago?
Well, it's certainly a lot more challenging because there are a lot more distractions. You know, you've got your phone, you've got Facebook, but the thing is, it's about deciding what is important to you and how you want your world to look. You know, what does my life look like? What is important to me? What are my top values? You know, like for me, one of my top values is family. So that means that I dedicate large chunks of my time to spending time with my family. For someone else, it could be being out in nature. I mean, I love being out in nature as well. And when you decide what your values are and how you want to live your life, then you build everything else around it. Then Facebook, maybe you might have half an hour here and then you slot it in, but you don't start off with Facebook and then build everything else around it.
Yep, so true. Just like
I believe in protecting yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to schedule it. If it's not in your schedule, you're not going to do it. But before you schedule it, you have to ask yourself the question why it's important to you. What are the benefits? What will happen if I exercise, you know, for 1 hour every day or every second day? How will I feel? Right? And when I feel that way, what else is possible?
Definitely. And I suppose when it comes to food, it's about food prep.
Definitely. It's about being really organized and prepared. Yeah, because if you're not prepared, chances are we're all busy. I'm busy too. I prepare all my food. I have lunch every single day. I don't eat out unless I'm meeting someone because I know that if I eat out, I'm likely to eat more. I know my own habits and I know my own tendency, and knowing your tendency is really important.
So,
right? There's Gretchen Rubin has written a book. Know yourself and know what your temptations are. And then build your environment around that knowing, around those facts. And accept yourself 100%. Right? Because when you accept yourself with all your little idiosyncrasies, or whatever you want to call it, then it's a really good foundation to start from, isn't it?
Beautiful. And
know yourself. A lot of people don't know themselves.
100%. And that ties into confidence. If you know yourself and you accept yourself, you'll already be more confident because you're saying, all right, this is me. Here I am, world.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is so important.
Yeah. Whereas people tend to run around wanting to be like this person, like that person. Why not make the best of who you are?
100%.
You know, like, that's
100%.
it.
As they say, you play the cards you're dealt.
That's it. And you make the best of it.
Exactly.
And you fall in love with yourself.
Yep.
And then you can be kind to yourself, compassionate. Self-compassion is something I've learned probably in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Because people tend to bash themselves. So I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But what if you said, I didn't exercise today, but I will exercise tomorrow?
Yep. And do you find that if you don't eat properly one day or you don't exercise one day, you'll go crazy and overcompensate the next day, or you just go back on your normal routine?
Look, I've been in a lot of routines for a really long time now. Yep. So if I miss a few exercise sessions, I'm fine. Okay. But I do notice that if I eat sugar or if I eat Other things, I don't react well to it.
Yeah.
Everyone has different sensitivities,
Sure.
right? And the reason I actually changed my title to food and mood coach, or mood and food coach, is because it is so important. You know, the food that we actually put into our bodies really influence our mood. 95% of serotonin is made in the gut.
Yes.
So think about it. Whatever you just eaten is going to influence your serotonin levels.
Wow.
Right? That's it. It's just like, you know, and then also the food you eat influences your dopamine levels.
Yeah.
And they're the two really important neurotransmitters that have a huge influence on your mood.
Wow.
And who doesn't want to be in a good mood? Because when you're in a good mood, you're also confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, that connection is so important. It's not just food and mood, it's also movement and mood. So it's probably a three-prong approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food, exercise, mood.
Perfect. Love it. And so, Irena, tell us about your new book. So why did you decide to write this book, and tell us more about it?
Okay. Sorry, my puppy's just barking in the background because people are swimming in the pool. Okay. I had a book which was a very brief book. I wanted to really go into more detail about what I do and my understanding of the human body. Because the other thing that has a huge impact on our mood is our hormones.
Yes.
Not just on our mood, but also on, you know, our hormones really control everything. Yeah. And as I've gotten a little bit older, right, like I'm 50 now, and I've gone through a pause, I realized the impact the hormones do have on everything, on metabolism, on everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go into more detail and talk about the four main hormones. Sorry, can you hear?
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I wanted to go into detail about the three key steps that I know are vital for feeling healthy and for weight loss, which are, you know, eating, knowing what to eat when, having healthy habits of organization, preparation, and the third one is the mindset, your thinking.
So those are the three key steps.
So I released the book about, those are the three key steps. Great. Yeah. But I just go into a lot more detail, and I've also included a lot of statistics.
Love it. Okay.
So the statistics are actually quite shocking. I was quite shocked when I was writing the book. Just about, you know, the fact that 1 in 3 women is likely to suffer a heart attack.
Oh boy.
You know, after the age of 40. And the thing is, look, a lot of these things are preventable. And I think it's good to bring awareness to women. I mean, I say women because women are really my specialty. Mm-hmm. I have nothing against men. I love men. But it's just, you know, it's that's who I specialize in. My target mark, or my niche, I guess, is 35 to 55. And, you know, the issues and the challenges that they face.
Yeah, yeah. And do you help people? Do you actually help people with, you know, organizing and setting up diets as well, or just teaching them how to do it themselves?
It's not so much about the diet. It's teaching them or coaching them to understand, you know, like what's healthy, to read labels in the supermarket. Perfect. So so that they understand what they're eating, but also working out their body type. The program that I run, which is Downsize Me, one of the weeks we actually work out their body type and what kind of foods suit their body type for a good mood, energy, focus. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Fantastic. Awesome. And I'd love to hear a little bit more, Irena, about maybe a case study that you've had, you know, obviously being extremely confidential, but maybe tell us a bit about, you know, not a patient, but you know,
a client.
I don't want to call them a patient, a client that's come to you with some eating issues and how you've helped them through it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to call out any names.
Of course.
But I can tell you one thing, that I tend to attract a certain type of client. Right. She's a busy woman. She's got maybe 2 to 3 kids. She might have her own business, or she's, you know, in a corporate world, and she doesn't make any time for self-care, right? Because she believes that she has to do everyone first before she does herself. Right. So what I help her to understand is that self-care is actually number one, because if she takes care of herself, she can then take care of other people's needs.
Right.
Also, when she's taking care of herself, she's likely to eat better and to organize and make time for herself to get all those things done, like exercise, food preparation, all those things.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really important, and I guess this is me telling you how they come out the other side. So these ladies come out the other side understanding that they're very important. They're number one.
Love it.
Okay. They make time for themselves. They become compassionate towards themselves,
Yeah.
rather than berating themselves and saying you're this and you're that. They actually learn how to hold themselves with love,
Nice.
how to hold their heart,
Yeah.
right? The way a mother would hold a child, and give herself love. How would you talk to your friend, right? The other thing that they become aware of, really, the biggest change they make is in their thinking.
Yeah.
They become aware of their thinking, and I teach them how to change their thinking, right? Using a model I have called CTFAR, which is actually a model that Brooke Castillo,
Right.
a life coach in the States, created and that I use. And that's really the biggest change, just becoming aware of their thinking and changing their mindset.
Nice.
Right? Changing their thinking. And when you change your thinking, you change your feelings, the way you feel, which means you act differently and you see different results in your life. So not every single person that goes through my program is just for weight loss. Most of them do lose weight as a side effect.
Exactly.
But what they actually gain is they gain a lasting, happy life. They feel lighter, brighter, and happier.
Yep. More confidence.
And that's really,
more control over their life.
More confident. They walk in like this and they walk out with their head held high.
Wow,
because
nice.
they actually love themselves.
Nice.
And when you love yourself, you're going to give things to yourself that you deserve.
Yep.
And that, for me, I mean, that makes my heart sing. Yeah.
And
so I hope that was a good example.
Absolutely. And do you find that after they might have done a program or some initial series of consultations with you, they need to maintain that, or they pretty much can run with that themselves forever?
Well, it depends on the person. Some people graduate after 8 weeks and they're ready to go out on their own. But a lot of people stay on and get extra sessions.
Great.
You know, I've had clients that have been with me for a year because maybe they've conquered something, but they want to work on something else.
Oh, nice.
There is just so many facets to our mental health and to our emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, you know, like all those things, and emotional well-being, that people, some people become so interested in themselves that they actually just want to keep improving.
Yeah, it almost becomes, you start to dive into that self-development world, and it's a, it's a never-ending journey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it depends on what you want, you know, like it's also what I help these women do is get clear on their goals and their vision. You know, decide what life could be like, and when life is like that, what they would be doing more of. You know, and when they're doing more of that, what's so good about that? So, that's just, I could talk about this for days.
So it's a much more holistic.
You want to shut me up? It is.
More holistic approach to food and mood and why we do what we do,
energy,
what drives us, energy, confidence, etc. Yep.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, and maybe
so it's not, because the thing is,
go for it.
Sorry.
No, you go. Continue.
Because I was just going to say that anyone can download a diet from Google.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just about the diet. The thing is, how are you going to stick to that diet?
Yeah.
Right. Like, you've got to have the motivation. You've got to have the confidence. And what is your why? What is your big why? Why are you doing this?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
So true.
Sorry
to interrupt. And as you mentioned, over the decades, over the centuries, there have been that many new diets and fad diets. Why? Because people are not actually working. People are not sticking to them. So if we have a better understanding of why we eat and how to eat, we don't need any of those diets.
Exactly. Yeah. Because we all know what to eat.
Yeah. We all know that the chocolate bar or that pizza is wrong, but we do it anyway.
But that's okay. You see, that's the other thing, moderation. Like what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person, because we're all unique. We all have our unique body types.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
That's it.
Fantastic, Irena. Well done. I mean, and so if people want to get in touch with you, and also find out more about accessing your book? How do they do that?
Well, I've given you a link, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, I'll make
So
sure
they
that I
can
put those in the
download
notes.
the book. Yeah. And they can also get in touch with me. I offer a 15-minute free chat.
Great.
If people just want to ask questions or find out anything and everything, or if they want, want to even just become aware of what they want, I will ask them questions that'll give them that awareness. I also have an information session coming up.
Great.
I don't have a link for that as yet, but I can give you a link later on.
Great.
Yeah.
And if
so
people
that's where
go to
people
your,
can really find out.
If people go to your website or your Facebook page, will they find that eventually?
It's not on there right now because I don't have the link. But anyone that's interested, I will have the link in a couple of days.
Okay.
But I'm happy to give my website details. People can get in touch with me via the website.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I put all those in the show notes for everybody. Fantastic.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you. My pleasure. And Irena, really, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Apologies to the guests. It was a bit patchy there, so hopefully everybody, you could hear everything. It was a little bit of internet issues, but hopefully you got all that great content from
delay. Yeah.
Bit of a delay. But anything that you want to leave the audience with before we finish up?
I want to leave the audience with my favorite quote.
Sure.
And the quote goes like this: she who has health has hope, and she who has hope has everything.
Oh,
that is like my all-time favorite quote.
Whose quote was that?
That's pretty good, isn't it?
I love that.
It's a Arabian proverb.
Wow.
It's not even, it doesn't have a name to it. And the only reason I say she is because I'm talking about women. It could be he.
Yes.
He who has hope, right? He who has health has hope. Because really, when we have our health, we are capable of everything. When we get sick, we're so limited.
So true.
Right? And that's just something that I always think about.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm so grateful that I have my health.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well done. I really love that.
So it's something the audience can reflect on.
Indeed. I totally
Thanks,
agree.
Darren. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, Irena. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you.
I wish you all the very best with your new book and your new seminars.
Thank you.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with Irena, please jump on her website or her Facebook page, and I'll provide all the links to that, plus the book, on the show notes for this episode as well.
You're the best. Thank you so much.
Everybody out there, if you love the podcast and you'd like to keep, bringing all these great guests back, please give us a review on either Apple or YouTube. I'd love that. And Irena, thanks again for joining us today. And we'll see everybody back for another episode very, very soon. Bye for now.
Awesome.